What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journals, Comics, and Pop Culture. And here we are again today, counting down another 10 top 100 key comics to invest in for under $100. I'm super psyched because at the end of this list, we're going to be halfway done. Before I get into the list, though, please, guys, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, take some time to do so and check out all the awesome links below, including how you can support the channel for only $3.99 a month via patreon.com. I got the link to the official Journals Comics merch as well. And of course, our link to our Comic Book Canon YouTube channel where you can catch our live shows every Friday night. All right, before I get into this book, though, guys, I want to take a moment to thank our sponsor today, OTIS, and the OTIS app. So I'm going to take a minute just to talk a little bit about OTIS. OTIS is an alternative investment platform that makes it possible for almost anyone like you and I to invest in shares of cultural assets. You can buy and sell shares of rare and high-priced collectibles, sneakers, art, and yes, you guessed it, comic books. Of course, that's why I'm here. So, how it works, guys, it's really easy to use. All you have to do is download the app from either Apple or the Android Play Store. Sign up for free. You can follow weekly drops. You can buy shares of the latest drops directly from OTIS or buy shares from past drops from other OTIS members. You can then earn potential return by selling your shares to other OTIS members, or if OTIS sells the underlying asset, say for example, a comic book that you have, assets in, and at that price at which you bought the shares, if the shares are more valuable, you earn a return. So we're looking at blue chip keys like Giant Size X-Men #1. You could get $29.50 per share for this book, guys. If you go through the details of each item, it shows, basically it gives you a history and breakdown of the current market value, high sales, low sales, even just historical reference of what the book means, right? Amazing Spider-Man, $129, $24 a share. You got Tomb of Dracula, #10, the first appearance of Blade, $20 a share. And again, it breaks it down. Recent sales, it gives any, if there's movie spec hype, it'll show recent news. So for, the first appearance of Blade, you got the Blade movie coming out, right? We know that's coming from the MCU. So guys, really, really recommend you guys checking out the OTIS app. Again, you can download it for free. And if you guys sign up for OTIS with the link that I have in the description below, guys, you can get your first share free. So I want to say again, thank you so much to OTIS for sponsoring this video. But guys, let's get into these books. Now, before I start with number 60, I'm going to break it down like I've done in every video. The lower we get in number, the higher the increase in value for each book. So the lower we go, the hotter these books are getting. All right, so keep that in mind. And without further ado, let's get into this. Starting out with number 60 on the list. This is Batman 609. This is the first appearance of Hush. This book has seen some excellent increases in value, guys. Let's look at the numbers here. Current CGC 9.6 fair market value sitting at around $78. That means that 9.8 is definitely well above the $100 mark. 5 years ago, $50. It's a 56% change in value. All right. You can still find a raw average for about $24. And like I've done in every video, I'm going to break down what this average raw means. This means that you're taking all the raw sales, right? No matter what the grade, you're adding them all up and dividing them and finding the average. So this $24 mark is just an average of every book that's been sold out there on the market. So it's not specific to any specific grade, but you just got to kind of, play around with it. It's stating to me, I look at this book, it's a modern book. You probably don't have too many beat up reader copies being sold on the market. So that $24 mark is probably going to be for a decent higher grade, but not those super high grades, like in the 9 point somethings, all right? So again, 5-year increase at 56%. That's really solid. I think the Hush storyline is one that continues to gain more and more popularity. And hey, if we can ever see Hush in a live action, that would be great as well. But as I said a lot on this countdown about DC books don't need a successful film franchise to have some books that continue to increase in value. Now, obviously, again, having that film franchise be successful in that connective universe like the MCU has done for Marvel stuff, does it help? Absolutely. We're not denying that. All right, let's move on to 59. We got another Batman book. This is Batman number 366. This is the first appearance of Jason Todd as Robin. All right. Current CGC, 9.6 fair market value, right at that $100 mark at about $102. 5 years ago, $64. That's a 59% increase in value. Now, remember, fair market value in and of itself is still an average. All right. So that means that it's a rough estimate of where the fair market value is sitting, of what you can get this book at for today. And keep in mind this as well. Fair market values can change day to day, week to week. So again, you look at this numbers and you got to take the information as is and then do your best to be educated when you start, hunting and getting out into the market for these books and figuring out what you feel is a fair price to pay. Average raw sales still sitting at about $26. This is a bit of an older book, early mid 80s book. So you'll probably have more of a mid-range, mid-grade books that are sitting at around that $25, $26 mark, but still an extremely affordable book. I've talked about this before too. I think Jason Todd's popularity, I mean, it's with him is the Red Hood. His popularity with this younger generation has absolutely grown. And I don't think that's stopping anytime soon. So that's going to continue to help this book in my personal opinions. All right, we are moving on to 58. That's my dude, Amazing Spider-Man. Here's number 124. This is the first appearance of Man-Wolf. Okay, let me tell you why I love this book being on this list. All right, we have so much going on in the MCU surrounding the horror genre. All right. We know that John Jameson has already been shown up in the Venom film, all right? So I really, really am optimistic about Man-Wolf showing up in the MCU at some point in time in the near future. Let's look at numbers, though. Current CGC 7.0, $109, so right above that 100 mark. And remember, I've said this in my past videos, I'm willing to look at books for that $100 or less range, even if they're in lower grades than your 9.6s and 9.8s, because I'm not going to be a stickler and say the only book that we should invest in is 9.8s. Absolutely not. So when I talk about 100 books for under $100, finding this book at a 7.0 or even a lower grade for under $100 is still worthy to me. It's still an extremely awesome pickup that for investment purposes is something that can increase over time. So you look at that current CGC 7.0 at about 109. 5 years ago, 68. That's a 60% increase in value. Average raw sales sitting at around $60. This is a beautiful 20-cent Bronze Age book that I think is going to continue to increase. I have this book probably sitting at around a fine, very fine. It has one inch color breaking crease down at the bottom, and other than that, it looks really decent. And I bought that book for like $20, like maybe 4 years ago or so. So yeah, the days of that value, not so much, right? So I think this is a book that has obvious long-term return on investment, but another book that just can have a really, really solid boost in value if we get Man-Wolf in the MCU. All right, moving on to number 57. Gotta give Superman some love. If my memory serves me justly, I think this is the first Superman book on this list. And we're at 57. And it's the first one. So that says either two things, right? It says there's a lot of Superman books that are probably keys that are way above the $100 mark. But then there's nothing in between, except for this book. Man of Steel number 18. This is the first full appearance of Doomsday. Now, I know Superman in the 90s gets a lot of flack just because of all the over printing done by the publishers during this time, the death of Superman and how that was hyped up. And, ultimately, there hasn't been a lot of value there that when we were kids, thought that there would be. But don't get it twisted. That's 30 years ago now. This stuff is gaining value, at least specific books like this one. Let's look at these numbers. Current CGC 9.6, fair market value, sitting at about 75. That means that 9.8 is above $100. 5 years ago, $47. Change of value, 60%. That is awesome. Average raw still sitting at about $8. So, if you could find a high grade for this, maybe, under $20, I think that's solid. But look, Doomsday is a great character. And yes, there's a lot of these books out on the market, but I always talk about this as well. People focus on print run as like the only variable to say if a book should be valuable or not. And I always throw this example out there. A book can have a 500 print run, right, with 500 books. But if nobody wants one, those 500 copies are going to be worthless. You can't sell them for 5 cents. There could be a book with a million copy print run. And if 1 million people want that book, that value is going to increase. The bottom line is no matter, also, not to interrupt myself, but you also got to keep in mind that print run doesn't equate automatically to supply. Supply is what's available on the market. So say there's a book that has a million print run, but 500,000 of those are being held in personal collections, then that means there's only 500,000 left on the supply market. So the supply isn't 1 million still. So again, there's a lot more variables. It's not so black and white looking at books like these where they have such a large print run. I definitely think over time, this book is still going to continue to increase. I mean, look, over the last 5 years, 60%, that's solid. Is this book ever going to be worth thousands of dollars? I don't think so. But hey, it's been proving us wrong that yes, over time, these books can indeed increase in value. We are going to move on, though, to number 56. Another awesome Spider-Man book. This is Amazing Spider-Man number 252. This is the first official appearance of the black symbiote suit. Yes, Marvel Team Up 141 came out like that same month. I do believe it was like a week later. Some people say it ties, but this part of the story happened first. So I'm always going to point to this book as that first appearance of the black symbiote suit. All right. Current CGC in an 8.0, right at around that $100 mark at $104. 5 years ago, about $65. That's another 60% increase. Average raw sale, $89. So again, you could probably find this in a decent mid-grade, maybe even higher mid-grade for under that $100 mark raw. This is an absolute long-term investment, in my humble opinion. And there's a lot going on about black suits and symbiotes right now, right? Do I even have to talk about that? Now, how long that hype is going to last, I don't know. Personally, I don't think it's just a phase. It's going to fade away and be forgotten about. I think what Marvel is doing with the symbiotes right now, I mean, a lot of people say, oh, it's too much, it's this and that, but I think they really got something that's going to last, in my opinion. But as well as this, we know that Tom Holland is going to show up with Tom Hardy in some capacity as Spider-Man and Venom. And if Tom Holland gets that symbiote suit on him in a movie, whether it's a Venom 2 or the next Spider-Man or whatever it may be, some type of crossover, watch this book just go crazy. Don't just take my word for it. All right, everyone, we are going to move on to number 55, another hot one right now. Sizzle, sizzle. Moon Knight number 1. Moon Knight is sizzling. This is the first ongoing Moon Knight title and the first appearance of Bushman. So, look, need I even talk about Moon Knight right now? We know Oscar Isaac has been cast. We know that the Disney Plus series is coming. I cannot wait for this show. This book has been steadily increasing. His first appearance is getting out of the hands or getting out of the affordability of the pocketbooks of your average day-to-day collector. And we're going after the next best things, and this is one of them. Current CGC 9.4 fair market value, sitting right at that $100 mark at $103. 5 years ago, $64. That's a 61% increase. Average raw sales sitting at about $28. It's definitely going to be most likely a mid-grade book. I purchased a higher grade of this. It's raw. It's not graded. I have to estimate it's probably around maybe a 8.0, 8.5 off the top of my head without looking at it. I paid $30 for it. This was over a year ago, before any type of announcement, I do believe. But it's increased since then. So this is a hot one. This is one that I think if you could find, if you could find a higher grade for under $50 in this book, I personally think that's a solid investment. And like I always say, guys, don't invest in books just because I say so. Invest in what you love. And if you're willing to take the risk and put money out for all of these books, okay? Take what I say with a grain of salt. If there's no love in it, don't do it. Moving on to number 54. Thor, number 225, first appearance of Firelord. All right. What does this book have going on for it? This book, I think, is another one that is a bit slept on and that also has possible MCU speculative value. Firelord is a herald of Galactus. And in my humble opinion, I do feel that it's just a matter of time before we see Galactus in the MCU. And outside of Silver Surfer, Firelord would be an awesome herald to introduce. Absolutely. On top of that, it's just an awesome character, awesome first appearance, and an awesome Bronze Age book. All right, current CGC sitting at an 8.0 at about $85. That's crazy to me. I just really think, I've said this about certain books on the last, videos. Out of this top 10, I think this might be the most undervalued on this out of these 10 books. $85 for an 8.0, which just blows my mind. Like I said, though, these things could change day to day, week to week. 5 years ago, $52. Change in value, that's a 63% increase. Average raw sitting about $53. Again, it's going to be mid-grade, maybe even lower mid-grade for these books. I do have a copy of this book. It is absolutely beat up. It's probably like a 3.0 at best, but look, hey, I'm happy to have it. I am happy to have it. So, I do think this one is one that if you can find for a decent price, this is one to sit on and see what happens, because Firelord would be sweet to be a herald of Galactus in the MCU. All right, everyone, we have 3 more books today. Moving on to number 53. Yes. This is Daredevil number 181, Death of Elektra. Elektra, we talked about the second appearance of Elektra in the last 10 with Daredevil number 169. This is another one. I just think these key Elektra books are so undervalued as well. This book is sitting at a CGC current fair market value in a 9.6 at around $85. 5 years ago, $52. 63% increase in value with an average raw of about $22. It boggles my mind. It boggles my mind. Now, I don't know what it is. I really don't. I don't know if it's because of the Daredevil movie and the Elektra film and the casting of Elektra maybe not being big with a lot of fans that dive into the hype. I mean, that was even before we really got hyped up about movies and allowed that to dictate how we speculated and purchased on books. But it could have carried through the years, and, we just never really put our direction to these books. But for me, always being an Elektra fan, it always boggled my mind how affordable these books still are. So with an average raw $22, again, and this may be more of a mid-range for the mid-grade books at about the 22. I haven't really looked at high-grade raw sales, but I know I bought mine for about $11, like 5 years ago, and it was near mint. Near mint. And it blows my mind, like I said. So uh, I love what they did with Elektra in the Daredevil series. I do hope that Charlie Cox comes back as Daredevil in the MCU, and I hope we see Elektra again. I really do. I love Elektra, and I want these books to go up in value, not just because I own them, but because I absolutely love the character. All right, moving on to 52. This is Uncanny X-Men number 129. This book right here, look, we got the first appearance of Kitty Pryde, the first appearance of Emma Frost, and the first appearance of the Hellfire Club. This book, look, I mean, it's 52 on the list, so it's been getting hot. Current CGC 6.5 fair market value at $100. So again, anything above that 6.5 mark in a CGC, you are not going to find for under $100 unless you're lucky, right? 5 years ago, though, $61, that's a 64% increase. Average raw sale, but for low grades, all right? Or excuse me, the low average sales, $39. So let me explain how I did this. This is the first book on the list that had an average raw of only low sales. I took the high sales, right? And did an average there, and then I took the low sales and did the average there. So basically, the lower half of the sales of raw books, this is the average of. So you're probably looking at low mid-grade books for under $40. All right? But again, this is a book that even in lower grade, I truly believe is going to keep increasing in value and is going to be a long-term gem. My personal opinion, all right? But here's the thing. You have Kitty Pryde, Emma Frost, and the Hellfire Club all in one book. We know the X-Men are coming to the MCU, and there is so much possibility with this book if one of those characters shows up. But imagine if two of those characters show up, or imagine if the whole Hellfire Club shows up in the MCU. Get ready for this book to continue to increase. All right? So I think this book has a very, very good future for it. Absolutely. All right, guys. I am very, very excited to see what our last book of the list for today is. And that is number 51 on the list, Miss Marvel, number 18. This is the first full appearance of Mystique. I recently picked a copy up myself. I believe mine is like a right there mid-grade. What did I say? Maybe around a 5.0. I can't remember off the top of my head, but another book, man. Oh, look at this. CGC 7.0 current fair market value sitting at around $99. 5 years ago, that was sitting at around $60. That's a 65% increase. Average raw sales sitting at about $79. Again, most likely a nice mid-grade book for around that $79, $80 mark. Mystique is a character that I resonate with because of, most importantly, the animated X-Men animated series. Watching that when I was growing up. I believe that Jennifer Lawrence's portrayal of Mystique was amazing. One of the good things in the Fox X-Men film franchise, in my personal opinion, there wasn't too many goods, but the things that were good stood out. Like Hugh Jackman Wolverines, like Michael Fassbender's Magneto. Whew, I hope they bring him back. But hey, I wouldn't mind seeing Jennifer Lawrence come back in the MCU. But Mystique is a character that I feel has to come into play in the MCU because I absolutely do believe, because the Rogue that we got in the Fox's franchises was garbage in my opinion. No offense to Anna Paquin, I think she's great, but I just think they cast and wrote the character completely wrong, and she didn't have her proper origin story. All right? We are going to see Rogue and Mystique and Carol Danvers play out the origin story of Rogue as it should be. That's my feeling. I think they're going to make that happen. So I do think that we are going to see Mystique in the MCU sooner than later. So, wow. What another amazing 10 books today, everyone. We are halfway there. I can't believe we're halfway there. I can't wait to get through the rest of these books. 50 more to go. And like I said, as we continue to count down, they are just going to keep getting hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter. So I want you guys to tell me in the comments below, which books do you have? Which ones are on your radar? Which ones do you think that you're going to be picking up real soon? And let me know which books you think should be on the list. Maybe they are. We just haven't got to them yet. And once again, I want to give a big shout out to today's sponsor, OTIS, and the OTIS app. I'm telling you guys, I have it on my phone. It's something worth at least checking out. I love what they're doing. We all, you're watching this video right now because you enjoy to some level investing in comic books. And I think what OTIS is doing to bring in a new revolutionary way to invest in comics and other collectibles is just super, super awesome. So again, big shout out to OTIS. And for all of my Patreons of the channel, I cannot end this video without thanking you all. Again, month after month, I truly appreciate all the support that you guys give me. It's just, it's beyond words every time I bring this up. But I have to give each and every one of you a personal shout out, starting off with Keith and Jeremy, Sean, Michael, Comics Spunk, Jeff, Tricky Clicky, Philly Born, Alvin, One Shot Comics, Frankie's Aquatics, Fletch, Joshua, Pedro, Hernani, Peter, Jason, Joe, Larissa, Sagi, Dan, Jamie, Beechner, Simon. I appreciate each and every one of you. Big shout out to Jamie Waz for winning the first Patreon-only subscriber contest. We will be doing much, much more. If you guys aren't a patron of the channel yet, please check the patreon.com link below to see how you can help support the channel and get all the awesome perks for only $3.99 a month, the price of one comic book. All right. As I always say, guys, be kind to yourselves, be kind to others. Thank you again for watching, and until next time.